I felt inspired today to make this video a bit more fully experiential. I recorded a video of me talking about this process, this series of practices that really set the foundation for my transition from an engineer stuck fully in my head to an embodied experience in the world, one that, to focus on in this context is really focused on transformation, of creating the change that we desire. No longer from a purely head space, a space where all that matters is thought and logic and data. That's wonderful. It's a wonderful pieces to work with in the transformation process. But what I have found a very difficult lesson for someone who spent her whole life very fully in my head is that this transformation process becomes so much more potent when we can truly embody, that is, feel and allow to really transmute as our whole selves. And yes, that includes the mind. The human mind is so powerful, and that's beautiful. And can we start to cultivate the other aspects of ourselves that bring their own power, bring their own unique flavor to what's asking to be transformed, whether that is a problem to be solved. Maybe it's a problem within your own body, a pain or some other icky feeling or illness, whether that's something out in the world, right? Or maybe it's a desire that you want to bring into your life. Whatever it is, whatever transformation you're asking for. Once again, I filmed a video. I'm sure it's already up. I'll link it. I'll link that one in the comments. If you haven't watched that one yet, I really go into the full transformational process. But here, I wanted to invite you to more fully embody one particular piece of it. And what this part is, it really has to do with our tendency in this modern world of ours to, when we want something to happen, when we want to solve a problem, when we want to manifest a desire, we're so deeply programmed to just go after it, to immediately jump to the hard work and focus and tackling it with what we have. And as I talk about in that other video, that is a beautiful part of this process. However, there's more. I found that if we can invite in other parts to this transformation process, the transformation becomes so much greater than what we may have thought at first. So, this piece, before we dive in with everything we have into the work, the first step I talk about whenever I'm gearing up to solve a problem, to go do anything that's really seeking this transformation, is to take a step back. Instead of diving in head first, to press pause, to take a step back, and to really create space. So again, I am here on the floor in my practice space because I wanted to really bring us into an embodied experience of how we can do this. Now, this may come naturally to you. You may, as I talk about, stepping out of the situation, pressing pause, creating space, your body, your being, your experience here may naturally start to do that. For those of us who that doesn't naturally happen, or for those of us who it does naturally happen, but we can give a little bit more to this space, here's just some practices to try out, to feel into. Number one thing that I carry with me is to find my grounding. So here I am seated on the floor. Maybe you're standing, so maybe your feet are connecting you to the floor. Wherever your connection here, finding that grounding, really feeling into your feet on the floor, feeling into your sits bones on the floor, grounding yourself in the here and now. And maybe you're here for half a second. Maybe you're here for a minute. Maybe you're here for 5 minutes. How much grounding into the here and now do you need, just being asked for, to create the space that is being asked for in this situation? Because that invitation there to bring this simple practice into your life, that is, in any moment where you feel yourself starting to get swept away, starting to go straight into that action mode. Yes, that action is going to want its space, but first, can we create a fuller container? Starting by grounding into the right here, right now. Your feet on the floor, your seat on the floor. Sometimes it helps my hands too, right? You'll see me, I keep putting my hands down onto the floor. So that's your first invitation, to play with that. The second one that I always have with me is my breath. Finding my breath. And this can also be very grounding. I find particularly when I'm working with my breath in my body, helping me ground into my body as the movement that is the breath in my body. So an invitation to really try this out in your body. That feeling, the expansion of your rib cage as you breathe in, the release of your rib cage as you breathe out. Your body as breath. Your body as this expansion, as this release. And again, sometimes it's really beneficial to put your hands on your body. Just like I put my hands on the floor to really ground into the floor. Feeling the movement in my body as I'm breathing. Once again, this invitation to play with this, to try it out, whether it's for a minute, maybe it's only one breath, maybe it's 5 breaths, maybe it's 5 minutes of sitting, breathing as your body. One other place I find supportive to work with my breath is in the flow in through my nose, out through my mouth. And no, it's not entirely important that it's in through your nose and out through your mouth, but I do find that to be a very supportive and nourishing way that our bodies tend to really more fully breathe, have that breath. When I find this sort of breath, I find that it tends to take me up more into a headspace that's starting to connect more fully with the world. That inhale coming in from out there, circulating in my body, exhaling out. Just one more, this third invitation here to play with that. Maybe to play with what's different when breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth and holding your focus here as compared to breathing down from here, really putting the focus on breath as movement, as your body. And I find that the more I sit with these seemingly simple practices, the more doors open to different ways of experiencing grounding and connection to what's right here, right now. More that exists as our breath, as this flow with what's out there and what's right here. Starting to just bring this back to our creating space conversation. I found that the best way to create these containers for the transformation that we want to happen is it happens by being, in the moment that's right here, right now. What is alive right here, right now? As opposed to getting whisked away. And again, I talk a little bit more about this in that other video. So again, I'm going to encourage you to go there to see how this sort of practice ties into this whole process. Because what you'll find as you work in this space is that as we press pause, create space, and start to come into our bodies, come into our experience that's right here, right now, we're already moving into those next steps of the process. Those next steps that are going to lead us to taking embodied action that, yes, certainly pulls in what's alive in our heads, what's alive as logic, as data, in connection to what is alive, fully in the here and now. What's alive as our bodies? Do we have the energy, the support, the physical ability to go take that action that we think is so important? Or is the moment really requiring more nourishment? Or the flip side, maybe we were telling ourselves that we're not ready, but we're here grounding into our bodies, and now we've created space and we're finding that spark. We're finding that support to go do the thing we thought we were going to do, that we want so strongly to go do. Okay, I'm going to leave us here for today, really to sink into these practices, really to begin to embody this process. Again, a fuller process that I talk about in that other video. I really encourage you, if you haven't watched it already or clicked the link to open it in the future, I really encourage you to tie these two together so you can start to see this fuller picture. And with that, as always, I leave you with, this invitation to like this video. If you're still with me here at the end, please leave a comment. Let me know if, as you're doing these practices, what's alive for you. Let me know, where are you called to go? What problem do you want to solve? What desire do you want to bring in the world? And what has been holding you back from doing that? And of course, as always, if you have not yet, please subscribe. It helps us all out. It really helps to nourish this community that we're building. And lastly, if you feel called, I am building that deeper community in the We Are the Forest portal. It's a space where we can come together to more fully focus on practices like this one. I don't often leave practices like this out here for everyone on YouTube. I tend to put these more deeper embodiment practices in that portal, but I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a taste of what we can work with as we start to move this conversation that's just me yapping over here on YouTube over into a space where we're really, really embodying that change that we're ready to make. So once again, thank you for joining me today, and I will catch you in whatever next space we find ourselves in.